Welcome to the Deeper Into Movies podcast. My name is Stephen T. Hanley. I'm the founder and lead curator of Deeper Into Movies. We are a pop-up cinema based in London and New York. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Edinburgh's finest, Irvine Welsh. Irvine joined me to discuss his career as an author and a screenwriter, and to talk about his new TV series, Crime, adapted from his 2008 novel of the same name. It's a 6-part series now available for streaming on the UK platform BritBox. It follows a police officer trying to hunt and find a missing girl in Edinburgh. And as I said to Irvine during our interview, it's so good. It feels like the classic British tight TV police procedural, but through Irvine Welsh world, with drug addicts, prostitutes, dead cats. What is it with the dead cats? Anyway, it was a great chat. Here is me and Irvine Welsh.
How are you? Whereabout are you?
Northwest London.
All right, great.
You? Did you move to Dublin, or are you back in?
I'm actually back here in Edinburgh now, so I'm back in my hometown.
Nice. I really enjoyed the show. I watched the first 3 episodes, and I'm saving the other 3 for the weekend.
Right, yeah. I mean, episode 4 is the one where it really kicks off.
Oh, shit. Okay, that's exciting.
I think that if you enjoy the first 3, you're in for a treat, because the second 3 are just really take it on to another level.
How did you find adapting your own book? Or the TV medium in general?
Yeah, the good thing was we only had 25% of the book, because we were going to do it as a Miami story originally, and then we switched back to Edinburgh because it was easier to get it made. So we had it was like we had the skeleton of the story in the book as a backstory, as a kind of origin story, and we just went back. We had, because we had to do a lot more work. It was fun, We could really reshape it as, so it felt like doing an original screenplay teleplay rather than an adaptation.
And how was it cutting out your? Obviously, you said you kept it to the Edinburgh, so you kept out the whole Miami, Florida section.
Yeah, we've still got them. We've got another 6 or 7 screenplays with, we've basically got a sequel if we get the money to shoot in Miami, so hopefully maybe we will.
And how do you find the TV writing process?
Well, I mean, it's a bit, the thing is a bit like kind of writing for the screen, but because it's episodic and more involved, that you feel, the great thing about a movie is that, once it's done, that you might have some ADR to do and all that, and afterwards it's out the road. But this is kind of, because this is almost, it's in installments, and it's kind of shot kind of roughly in installments, like but it's that you feel that it's a kind of bigger job, really. It tends to be more immersive, and I think that. Just TV, in movies, the director is kind of king and is the main person, but so the onus is always on the director more in a movie. Whereas it's the same, it's basically the same job on TV, but for some reason, the onus is much more on the writer. The writer seems to be the more kind of the person that everybody goes to as a sort of as a kind of go-to person, really, and that's just custom and practice and kind of tradition and all that. But it's interesting. It makes me think a lot more about movies and the working relationships within movies, and the way the directors kind of pushed into this role of auteur, when they might not necessarily be, they might not. I mean, it's like I can't really see the difference between what, say, James Strong does as a director on crime, and like my friend John Baird does as the director on Filth. You know, they're both directing this kind of they're directing actors in these scenes, and they're editing and putting it together and all that, and they're developing the scripts and working with all the different departments. But it's like it's but there's a much different profile that the director has in film, and that's just a historical thing. So that's quite interesting, and so it's nice working in TV because you feel that you're okay. You feel that you're the main man, basically, rather than the second piranha, Whereas, like, you don't in film often you feel that you're just this guy who's written the script and then is forgotten about, basically, So it's a different thing because the writer is normally one of the executive producers in TV, but not quite so normal for film.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know people say on TV shows the writer is basically king, and often with, say, like a series like Sopranos or Mad Men, they'll just bring in skilled directors to shoot the scripts for each episode, but you're basically, the tone is already set and you have to just carry it through.
Well, that's the thing, and it's like, you work with a great director in film, and it's and you think this director is going to, they have a vision of how they're going to do this and all that. And and then you have this idea that in television, somebody just shows up and shoots pages, basically. But it isn't really that way at all. It's like I think because there's so much more money in TV now, the relationship's changing. But because the relationship's changing in TV, I think it's calling into question more of the relationships in film. More. I mean, I think that because of the way that the film industry is kind of sort of going now, it's very hard to get the kind of sweet spot movies financed around about kind of 3 to 10 million is really, really difficult. But so it's big blockbusters now that are getting financed, and the director now in big movies is a manager, just managing huge different departments, like almost like huge corporate departments. I think that's where the skill lies, is to try to get the vision kind of sort of one person holding it together to have this kind of vision and pull it all and to pull it all together. Whereas it's like TV, I think, is much more corporate in a way. It's like there's people who are working. There's a core group of people who are working together to try and make the thing happen. There's not a standout. It's not a standout figurehead. And if there is anybody, it's probably the writer or possibly the producer, or maybe even the lead actor if they're producer as well. In the case of Dougray, so it's a much more. It's interesting for me, to see these changing relationships. Having worked in both the cinema and now TV, and I'd worked in TV before in the States, but to see these relationships all change is is absolutely fascinating, and it's a lot. So much of it is down to the technology. The idea that we've now got. We need big budgets in TV because people have got massive home screens and kind of stereo surrounds and all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to want to watch everything shot in a little box.
Yeah, it was funny because I was thinking it's a conversation we have a lot between my movie friends, that they say we've all heard directors that the script can only do so much, and it was almost thinking like if Trainspotting was in anyone else's hands. Because I think because your book is so much about the style and the language, in the wrong hands, that could have been a completely different movie.
It would have been terrible. And I think with it was it was very much it was like without Danny and Andrew and kind of John, maybe even more particularly, that I think that it would have been a really worthy kind of really boring film. It would have been like Christian F or something like that. It would have, you can't, it's like it would have been a sort of a real kind of chin stroking. Oh, isn't this terrible? We all wanted to do one about youth. We weren't really bothered about drugs. You know, we were kind of, you know, it's like we were more, you know, and that's what, to me, that's what the book was always about. It was about the vibrancy of youth in the most adverse of circumstances. And Danny and John and Andrew got that straight away. You know, they were determined that it was going to be a youth movie. It wasn't going to be about, it wasn't going to be a movie about despair. You know, there's going to be really dark elements in it. But there's that, you know, when people are young in their teens and early 20s, they've got a tremendous sense of immortality and bounce back ability and all that, you know, and that's what we wanted to capture.
I was going through my bookshelf earlier and I picked out my copy of Trainspotting, and you might get a kick out of this. I took my school class when I was 15 to go see Trainspotting, the theatre play.
All right, great, the ambassadors, yeah.
Yeah. And I convinced my drama teacher to take everyone. They were horrified. They didn't know the subject matter.
You know, my vivid memory of that is that you know, because the West End, it was like they were so unused to people coming up with cash because nobody had credit cards. You know, because as a younger, as a younger kind of punkier crowd, and they didn't have any credit cards. You know, so they're used to dealing with kind of West End, well-heeled types, just kind of putting their credit cards down. So they were having to handle all this cash, and it was taking ages. And the thing started half an hour later, which is kind of unheard of in the West End. Basically, you know, it's, you know, the curtain goes up at the right time all the time. You know, so that was a strange experience. You know, especially in a gold leaf and kind of red velvet theatre like the Ambassadors.
Yeah, my teacher had no clue what to expect, and then it alienated my entire class, and I was just the guy who dragged everyone to see a naked man on stage, and they had to pay for it. Going back to crime, the thing I love so much about it is you've almost taken the format of the BBC ITV crime drama, but it's completely steeped in Irvine world with, you know, dead cats, pedophiles, drug addicts, black comedy, but you're straddling the two so well.
Yeah, but we kind of we thought originally that we were going to show it on ITV, which kind of wouldn't have worked. It was going to had to be behind the paywall. But you know, we were thinking about the ITV audience as older and more steeped in police procedural, and you know, so I mean, I always saw the whole thing as a kind of twisted psychological thriller, and I'd sort of you know, I've kind of because I lived in the States for 10 years. I don't have a TV right now over here, but America's such a television society. I've never, you know, when you go to a hotel in America, the first thing you do is you put on the TV. You know, you just do. It's just something you're almost programmed to do in America. And so I watched all these HBO dramas, and I worked on a couple of dramas with HBO. So I got kind of steeped in that whole thing. I wanted it to be like, I wanted it to be more like True Detective than The Bill. I'm sort of, you know, and we wanted it to look cinematic. You know, we had a great DOP in Will Pugh who just shot Edinburgh in this big kind of sort of broad, kind of sort of big lit, kind of big skyway, and a great, you know, a great production designer in Tom, you know, Tom Sawyer. So we just, so we were just really how it looked, and also how the characters were. You know, we didn't want any like kind of gov or mom in the screenplay, and we didn't want any kind of cop number three. You know, everybody. The ambition was that you can take any character out there, and even the postman or whatever, you can make them a standalone character and a spin-off. You know, it was like everybody, even the smallest character, the smallest screen time character, they had to punch the weight dramatically. That's a huge scene. You know, that's a big drama scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at like Glover and McCorkle, the two younger cops who are tormented by a confectioner, they both get kind of quite big dramatic scenes in it, even though they might not get that much airtime, but when they do, they're really doing something that's significant to the whole piece, basically. So that was we wanted that kind of thing. We wanted an expansive thing. Not everybody's stuck in a box. We wanted to get the idea that this guy wants to get out. He wants to be out on, not just on the cliche of it being out on the streets, but he wants to be breathing. He wants to be kind of feeling the pulse of the city and just hanging around. Yeah. He doesn't want to be hunched over a kind of computer screen, just doing what which a lot of cops do nowadays. It's just information trawling, you know. So he wants to be out there, and it's it just makes for a more dramatic and I think visually interesting show.
Am I pronouncing right? Dougray Scott?
Yeah.
He is fantastic. He's so committed. His performance is so intense, and there's so much behind the eyes. You know, the history is just all there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Dougray wanted to do this for years. You know, he kind of he was just so into it. I mean, when I was living in Dublin, he came across to Dublin to see me and to talk about it. And we just wanted to do it, and it was we had it with different producers, and then it's like it's almost been gestating in him for 10 years, you know. So he really let rip when he did the part, and it asked a lot of him, it took a lot out of him, and he just went with it, you know. And it's great when you see an actor who's just so committed to doing something like that, you know. And we're going to be doing the Blade Artist with Bobby Carlyle, who's reprising Begbie, and I think that's when you get when you get an actor who really wants to play that part, and they're just, they're a really good actor, and they just go for it in an incendiary way. You know, you had and I had it, with the Trainspottting guys, and I was really, really lucky with James McAvoy and Filth, who just kind of tore the whole thing apart, you know. And that's what you want. You want to kind of get a really committed lead actor, and if you have that, and it's like if it's a passion part for them, they just they really want to play that part. That's when people start giving career best performances, and that's when it really gets that level of recognition.
Also, something I noticed on the show that I really liked is really thick, strong Scottish accents. Nothing's diluted.
Yeah, we went for it a little bit, and I mean, it's like, to be fair to them, it was the kind of it was really the actors. It wasn't so much doing my stage directions. It was or the dialogue we were writing. As the actors went for it, and I think again, having Dougray as the lead guy, and him being from this part of the world and immersed in that, it was like, and him being over in America for years and playing Americans or playing kind of English toffs and all that, so I think he just wanted to do something in his own voice, and he found that very kind of empowering. And you had guys like Jamie Sivis, who's like kind of Leith born and bred, and sort of and he just went for it, he just sort of so you if you have kind of that kind of force running through it, Ken Stott's kind of Edinburgh born and bred as well, and so and Joanna's from Perth and all that, so everybody was like very much not even Scottish, but specifically east of Scotland, kind of Edinburgh, east of Scotland. So there's a real vibe that this was all homegrown stuff.
Our mutual pal Bret Easton Ellis said something really funny about screenwriting and getting projects made, where he says now he'll write the script, he'll take the check, and if they get made, it's a fucking miracle. and he's just used to it now. And it took time to accept, but he just knows that's the way it is. So I was wondering, how has this been for you coming into the TV and film world? I think you said crime has been in development for 5 years. So how is it getting used to all that?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's like, I mean, I'd kind of worked on 3 HBO shows and none of them got made. And I worked on one AMC and one FX one. And it was, it was, I got well paid for it, so it was nice. And but you want things to get made. But the thing that I did get from it, I worked with really brilliant people. I worked with some fabulous people, and and some people who kind of maybe weren't that great in that world, but they were just really interesting. But the executives, the people that were actually were making stuff at HBO, you could see how that was such a successful business, basically, because the people that were working there were just so smart and they just knew exactly what they were doing, and they were very bold. So it was a real fabulous education for me. And I don't, it's like, and it kind of feeds into this, it's like everything that you do kind of prepares you for the next thing that you do. So it was a great opportunity, and it kind of, it's enabled this to be made. Basically, it's enabled us, it's enabled me to get to the level of confidence that I've got in this whole kind of process of kind of, not just kind of, not just screenwriting or TV writing, but kind of getting to that whole level of confidence within the film industry and within TV and film production. So yeah, it was fabulous. But it's that is the thing. The thing about being a writer in film and TV is that you're not. Everybody else is working on the film. When you go to the wrap party, you talk to the DOP and the set designer, the makeup. They're all working on them. The actors, they're all working on a film. You're working on a script. Which invariably won't be. Usually it doesn't become a film or it doesn't become a TV show. But so there's a different thing. So it's like you kind of you can become isolated from the whole thing. You can't become the guy that just is called in to write another line or to do ADR and all that. So if you're really interested in the whole process, you kind of you have to also be a producer. Basically, you have to get involved in that level too, so that you have a reason for being there and you have an input into the all the things around the show. And I mean, I don't get too enmeshed in the business side, but I'm kind of fascinated by it and I'm interested in it too. So I will talk to sales agents and distributors and all that kind of stuff as well. So it is you have to kind of try and broaden your education about the whole process as much as you can.
Were you working on a Spring Breakers spin-off?
Yes, I was with Jonas Ackerlund, and it's Chris and Rebecca, but again, it's one of these things that script, but nothing beyond script. But the good thing about it is, like I'm working with Jonas on another TV project now, so it's like these. If you vibe, these relationships, and a lot of the relationships that are made in America, they stay with you. They kind of there's always where all the good people are to work with. So that's the wonderful thing about it.
Yeah, you and Jonas is a good pairing. I really liked his Lords of Chaos movie a lot.
Yeah, Jonas is great. He's just he's just one of this just incredible visual sense of everything, and so it's we've got a project we're working on that we're kind of just getting to we're just at the early stages of it, but we worked on another show that never got done, so we've got a kind of we've got one of these long. It's that kind of thing, the writer thing again. You've got one of these long-term, invisible kind of careers, basically.
Yeah. I was wondering, as a novelist, how is it going from a writer working alone to working with your writing partner, Dean Kavanagh, who has worked on lots of your film and TV writing projects?
Dean and I have done loads of stuff down the years, and it's just brilliant to work with them because it's one of these. It's like kind of it's a bit like being married to someone, because it is like you're so kind of what we lack in kind of sexual intimacy, we make up in kind of psychic kind of intimacy, because you're just like. You're just so tuned into each other's thoughts all the time. You kind of, you sit down, you work together, you finish each other's sentences, you wrap out all these ideas, and you kind of, you support and encourage each other. And it's like we're both, the thing about Dean is just so incredibly cinema and TV literate. He just watches and sees everything and reads everything and absorbs everything. So it's like, there's a whole kind of Rolodex of characters, informations, and scenes, and all that. And he's got the kind of memory that I don't kind of have. He just can pull something out and reference it, whereas mine tends to be just that it's almost like it just becomes an ingredient that melts into the soup straight away,
Right.
Whereas his is much more bang, 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 bang. So the pair of us work really well together. It's like. I can, if I have an impulse of an idea, Dean will start to frame it in certain ways, and then we'll break it down and we'll say, like, well, where can we go from this next and all that, and we'll generate all these references, or he'll usually generate the references, and then we'll kind of move on from there, and it's just great fun. We was just up a couple of days ago to work on this other thing we're doing. It's just brilliant fun working with him. I just, we can sit in a room for a couple of days, and it feels like it just goes past in no time at all. But we've just got all this stuff we've generated. We've got all these scenarios and characters and scenes and ideas for new things that come out of the things that we've just done. So yeah, I mean, it's just brilliant, and it's one of the great things about being back in the UK is that we can do much more sort of intricate face-to-face stuff rather than him coming over to Miami for a couple of weeks, or me going over to Bradford for a couple of weeks. It's like now we can do this almost weekly. Yeah.
And how was it for you as a writer? Obviously, it was such an isolated, singular thing that you do. How was it letting someone into the process? Were you initially open to that, or was there some teething problems?
Well, I think the interesting thing about when you write for screen and write novels, you're just left on your own. There's nothing that you bung it in, and the editor will have a few comments, or maybe even not. It'll maybe go straight to the line edit, and you go through it with the editor, and then it comes out basically just practically as it's written. Whereas it's like the film's such a collaborative thing that everybody has a view on your script. Like, the T-Boy will come and sort of put some comments in red on the script. They just, it's like, and they'll probably be the best comments that you read as well. You would go for them rather than the producers' sort of comments. But everybody's kind of inputting into it. But so you have to really, it's like the further up the kind of chain you go, the more serious people you work with. When you kind of, when you start off, you work with people who want to be producers, and maybe somebody who's got a trust fund and they've opened an office and they've paid 500 quid for a producer's credit in an indie film, and they've got these indie posters splattered, around their office, framed up.
I know them. Yeah.
And they're they're producers, and then they'll hit kind of Creative England or some local screen thing for a few grand and all that, and they'll kind of so it's so you work with these guys, and everybody's got to start somewhere, but usually kind of they're pretty useless. Basically, you have a few good nights out and a good laugh and all that, but it's not a lot happens. But if you get a decent producer with a good track record who's really serious about what they do and a kind of extensive set of contacts, and in it because he wants to shag some starlet or something like that. You know, it's like it's just it's just brilliant, and it just you know that you at least have you might there's still the chances of it getting made are still kind of not kind of massively high, but you've given yourself a much better shot. And you're actually going to learn something you're going to take on to the next step.
And how did you guys go about tackling the creation record story?
Well, we were quite fortunate. We were both good friends of Alan's before, so it was like there was a level of, I think there was, because I'd sort of, I'd known Alan for a long time, and I'd kind of known everybody known a lot of people in the Creation Records thing. I was actually, I was even signed to Creation Records myself at one time for their dance imprint Eruption. So I kind of had a decent knowledge of, a lot of the people were friends, basically, so there's a level of trust and a level of responsibility as well to kind of get it as accurate as you can, but to be accurate to the spirit of it, but to be accurate to the spirit of the times and to try and get the sense of what it was, and what the whole thing was about. So yeah, that was again. It was fun. It was Dean and myself. Just we just took off in isolation, and then we got the script, and we hooked up with Nick Moran, who was the director, and we just started kind of brought him into the fold, and then he just started to, as directors do, he took it up and ran with it, and it was it was like all indie projects. There was there's always kind of money hassles, and you think it's never going to cross the line, and then you get more money from somewhere. And I mean, Nick was I think Nick was editing at a kebab shop in Bermondsey, but we got back into we got more money, and we were able to finish off all the posts and all that sort of stuff. So it was you do fly by the seat of your pants a lot of the time, but it's one of these ones that I was glad that I wasn't a producer on it.
Yeah. No, I really like the way you approached it. You did, as you said, you really captured the essence of it, but you had that kind of magical, playful, hedonistic approach, similar to the way like 24-hour party people took on the Hacienda era.
What gutted me about it was that we could only show it streaming because of lockdown. We couldn't get the cinemas were shut. We had a decent cinema release lined up, and I felt that it was one of these films that would have benefited from people being able to see it together en masse.
Absolutely, yeah.
It could have been a cultural event, and it could, it did really well streaming, but I just didn't like the idea of people sitting, around with a few tins of beer on their couch. I wanted people to go out to the cinema and then go to the pub afterwards, and then go to a club and all that, or go and see a band after. I just felt that that's what it was. It was. We'd kind of written a night out, really, rather than a night in.
Right. And Ewan Bremner was so great. I think I saw him again. I got invited to see the restoration of Naked, the Mike Leigh film at the BFI. And I came away just thinking, man, Ewan Bremner is so fucking great. He's such a great character actor, and I think he's
brilliant. I mean, that's when I saw him in Naked, that's the first time that I'd seen him, and he lives fairly close to me in Edinburgh. He did live fairly close to me, but and I said to him and Susan Bidler were the kind of runaway couple, and I said to both Ian Brown, who was the director of the Traverse Theatre, who was putting on the play, I said, you've got to get these two in this play, because they're completely east of Scotland. Normally it's like west of Scotland accents when you see Runaways in London and all that, Scottish Runaways. So you've got to get these two. And then he said, and I said the same to Danny, you've got to kind of get you and Susan involved in it, So it was great that they both were.
And of course, his performance in Julian Donkey Boy is just incredible.
Oh, it's brilliant! He's just amazing. He's just a fabulous actor, and he is. He's like he was kind of he was really made to work with directors like Harmony Korine, people who've got that kind of that sort of very singular kind of voice, basically. And I mean, I think that he's just a fabulous actor. And I think in Trainspotting too, I think he was just the whole he just played this guy who was kind of fucked and knew he was fucked. He had all that kind of pathos and sort of and he was really the storyteller. He was the main kind of the moral center of that film, so tremendous actor, yeah.
Just one thought to end on. I was thinking, it's strange thinking back that you emerged at a time when authors were as important to the culture as filmmakers and rock stars. And it was great seeing people like you, Brayson Ellis, Will Self, Elizabeth Wurtzel at music parties, film premieres, red carpets and stuff. And looking back, that kind of seems like an impossible time now. Or even when I was thinking, when I bought Trainspotting and stuff, those type of things were just available in HMV, and Virgin Megastore had a bigger, the classical section would be as big as the book section or something in the stores, and I'd pick up Alan Warner. I even found a bloody Dennis Cooper graphic novel in a Virgin Megastore bin one time, and it just seems everything's shifted.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's different times, and it is culture in general is it's just really because it's a media culture rather than a street culture now, and it is blanded out really, basically, and it's unfortunate, but you're hoping that if there's one good thing that can come out of COVID and the sort of and the death of capitalism, basically, and global warming and the extinction of the human race, there might be a re-emergence of culture again.
And what are you working on next? What are you excited about?
I'm excited. I've written. We're doing a Trainspotting musical with Phil McIntyre. I've written original songs with my music partner Steve, and we've written 14 originals. I think we'll try and license Born Slippy and Lust for Life to bookend it, so they've got open and close and a bit of familiarity. But we've done all these different songs that's kind of tied into the narrative of it. And the funny thing is that because it was a musical, it's a West End stage musical. I've rewritten the whole thing, and I thought that I wanted to make it. I wanted to try and pitch it in between the book and the film in terms of tone. I wanted to make it, not quite as dark as the book, but a wee bit darker than the film. And I've actually made the thing darker than the book. It's really bleak. It's got a lot of new characters in it, and it's quite different in a lot of ways. But I mean. Oh, God, I think I'm going to have another draft again to tone it down. I seem to be getting kind of darker in my old age rather than lighter. I don't know what. Maybe it's just the times we're living.
Yeah, I think so. So they're singing
They're singing all my daft songs, basically, So that'll be we're mid-December. We do the casting for it. We've got the music supervisor on board. We've got the director. We've got a great director. She's brilliant.
Okay.
And so we're kind of we're just got to get we're talking to choreographers now and set design people and all that. So we're knocking on with it. So maybe this time next year it might be out.
Okay. Hamilton with heroin. That's your elevator pitch.
It's like. It's going to be quite full on, So it will be a strange experience for the West End, I think.
That sounds spectacular. I'll try and reunite my high school class and bring them back for.
that would be the way to go. Yeah,
that'd be great. Okay, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, Evan.
Lovely to talk to you, Steve.
Thank you, buddy. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye.
Irvine Welsh. Thanks for listening. Thank you to my podcast engineer, Ewan Henselwood, Joshua Eustace, aka Telephone Tel Aviv, for my beautiful music. Thank you for you guys for listening and making this show what it is. Deeper into movies. See you next time.